Barcelona gave Ferrari the image it had been waiting for. Lewis Hamilton in red. A clean strategy. A calm pit wall. A race that did not collapse under the weight of Ferrari being Ferrari. For one Sunday, the most famous team in Formula One looked like it finally understood the driver it had signed. But the problem with breakthroughs is that they are only real if they survive the next weekend. And Austria is not kind to teams that need everything to be perfect. The Red Bull Ring is short, fast, and brutal. The lap disappears quickly. One small mistake in qualifying can move a driver from the front row into traffic. One track limits warning can change the pressure inside the cockpit. One hesitant strategy call can cost more than it should, because there is so little time for the race to spread out. That is why this weekend matters. Not because Ferrari has to win again. Because Ferrari has to prove Barcelona was a process, not a mood. Hamilton's victory changed the championship picture. Kimi Antonelli still leads. Mercedes still has the most complete title position. George Russell remains close enough to punish any Ferrari mistake. McLaren can turn a clean weekend into a problem for everyone. And Max Verstappen at Austria is never background noise. But Hamilton arriving at the Red Bull Ring as a genuine Ferrari threat changes the emotional temperature of the season. The question is no longer whether Hamilton can still deliver. The question is whether Ferrari can keep giving him weekends that make sense. That starts with qualifying. Austria rewards confidence, but it punishes overreach. The corners are not complicated in theory, but they ask everything from the car: traction out of slow corners, stability under braking, efficiency on the straights, and discipline at the edge of the track. For Hamilton, that means trust. He needs a car he can lean on immediately. He needs a run plan that does not leave him exposed. And he needs Ferrari to avoid the kind of small operational mess that turns a fast car into a compromised weekend. For Charles Leclerc, Austria may matter just as much. Barcelona gave Ferrari a Hamilton story, but it did not give Ferrari a complete team result. If the team is serious about fighting Mercedes, it cannot build every weekend around one side of the garage finding clarity while the other side absorbs frustration. That is where Fred Vasseur becomes one of the central figures of the weekend. Ferrari does not need theatre now. It needs boring competence. Clean practice plans. Clear qualifying priorities. Pit stops that do not become talking points. Strategy calls that arrive before panic does. That is the version of Ferrari Hamilton needs. And it is the version Austria will test. Because Mercedes will respond. Antonelli has not led this championship by accident. Russell will not watch Hamilton become the story without trying to pull it back. McLaren has enough speed to turn qualifying into chaos. Verstappen has the circuit, the crowd, and the aggression to make any fight uncomfortable. So Ferrari's real opponent this weekend is not just another car. It is regression. The old habit of reacting emotionally. The old habit of letting pressure turn into noise. The old habit of making a difficult weekend harder than it needs to be. If Austria goes badly, Barcelona becomes a beautiful exception. A perfectly timed strategy, a driver at his best, and a story Formula One wanted to believe. But if Ferrari looks calm again, if Hamilton qualifies cleanly, races decisively, and leaves Austria still closing on Mercedes, then the championship changes again. Because then Barcelona was not just a win. It was evidence. Austria will not tell us whether Hamilton can win in red. We already know he can. It will tell us whether Ferrari can behave like a title team after the celebration ends. That is the real test. Subscribe to Dirty Air for Formula One stories about the decisions, pressure, and politics behind the result.